following program is made possible through funding provided by Rogers Cable TV Toronto and the St. Patrick's Parade Society of Toronto.
Hello everyone and welcome to our coverage of the 1988 St. Patrick's Day Parade from downtown Toronto. My name is Tim Ryan. It'll be my pleasure to share the coverage here this afternoon of this event, the first of its kind since 1878 in Toronto. Joining me on the commentary from Montreal's Montreal Irish Show on CFCF Cable Television is Paul Loftus. And Paul, you are certainly much more experienced in covering St. Patrick's Day parades than I, but there are things Irish about you perhaps some of our folks would like to know about.
Well, I come from a town called Ballina in County Mayo. I've been living in Montreal now for 21 years, and I have covered the parade in Montreal for the CBC and also for CFCF Cable TV. And I'm really pleased to be involved with Toronto's first parade for a long time. And it's just a great part to be here and be involved with so many people organising this parade.
Well, like you, I was invited by the St. Patrick's Day Parade Committee to be part of the television coverage, and no doubt some of you looking in who may recognize me from sports coverage in the U.S. would say, why is that guy covering the Patty's Day Parade in Toronto? Well, I'm a native of Toronto and certainly lived much of my early life here and have been gone since 1967, but retained family connections here, and was a graduate of De La Salle College, the high school here, De La Salle Oaklands in Toronto, before going off to Notre Dame University in the States and a career in sports television. But to come back and share with Paul this opportunity at such an historic occasion, the St. Patrick's Day Parade, with a name like Ryan, is a great thrill for me indeed. I know you have a special greeting for our Irish folk who are looking in who understand Gaelic.
Céad míle fáilte Guine Uisle agus Láir le Fára Conigíomh go léir. Over to you now, Tim.
I know that's a happy greeting, folks. We'll be back with the parade coverage in just a moment. Well, under gray skies, but certainly with plenty of spirit, this 1988 St. Patrick's Day Parade is approaching the reviewing stand along Queen Street. You're looking from an overhead camera east on Queen Street, and the first unit coming through is the Metro Toronto Police Mounted Unit, as you might have guessed. And in chatting with some of the police earlier, Paul, we were asking about the percentage of Irish heritage in the Toronto Police, and they said, well, certainly in the senior ranks it's as high as 30%, but much more diverse now. But in the old days, that tradition of Irishmen joining the police and fire departments certainly has held true here in Toronto.
That's quite common actually in a lot of cities in North America.
Oh, indeed. And followed by the Colour Party.
Yeah, the Colour Party actually consists of 40 flags from Ireland and Canada. Leading the party are the national flags of Canada and Ireland, also followed by the Toronto flag, Ontario flag, and the 4 Irish provinces. Many people may not realize that there are provinces in Ireland as well. The 4 provinces are called Leinster, Munster, Ulster, and Connaught.
As the Metro Toronto Police Band goes by, we can enjoy their wonderful pipe music. Pipe band, a familiar sight at functions in Toronto. Certainly back in my day, any important occasion you would see this band involved. And here is a closer look at the Colour Party following in behind the Metro Toronto Police. And you heard the description by Paul of the flags representing Canada and Ireland and the Irish provinces.
Yeah, they've also got actually the counties of Ireland. There are 32 counties in Ireland, and they've also got the county flags there as well. That's the Irish flag on the right-hand side, the green, white and orange, carried by Kevin McGreal. Kevin was born in Westport, County Mayo. We see the various county flags there, green and red County Mayo, red and white Sligo.
In what county did you say you're from, Paul?
I'm from County Mayo. That's the red and green one you can see out there. And that's being carried by Kevin McGreal's son, Ryan McGreal.
Well, there's a beautiful piper and looks like an Irish wolfhound. Brian Horgan with Yvonne O'Neill on the far side of your screen.
And I see Millie Drain from the Toronto Star in there as well.
Yes, with the hat.
That's right.
Met Millie earlier this morning in the hotel on a beautiful Irish wolfhound.
Yeah, Millie writes regularly in scheduled features in the Star.
You heard that Metro Toronto Police pipe band go by, and it talked about how many times they're involved in important functions. Actually 130 a year, the Metro Toronto Police pipe band. So naturally there couldn't be a St. Patrick's Day parade without the police band, and we thank them for being part of it. Dignitaries starting to arrive, some of whom were riding in the parade, joining others who were already at the reviewing stand.
Yeah, some of the executive committee actually have been in the parade, and now they will take their places on the reviewing stand. See the executive committee coming out there: Neil O'Bracken, John O'Neill, Anne O'Neill, and Marie Payne. Vince O'Reilly is already on the reviewing stand.
Steve Whelan, chairman of the St. Patrick's Parade Society, one of the group of Toronto Irish people who got together March 17th, 2 years ago, decided to start talking about having this parade here in Toronto, see if they could make it happen.
We can now see His Excellency Dennis McDermott. Dennis is the Canadian ambassador to Ireland, and he's officiating today as Grand Marshal for the St. Patrick's Day Parade here in Toronto. Dennis, of course, is a well-known union man in Canada, and I understand is doing an excellent job for the Canadian government in Ireland.
What a tremendous thrill it must be for him to see this come to fruition, a St. Patrick's Day parade in Toronto for the first time since 1878. And he is here to be an important part of it as Grand Marshal. Well, as usual with parades, some of the units slightly out of order, but we did see the dignitaries arrive, and now they float from the Emerald Corner, well-known store selling Irish goods out Kingston Road, and Tom and Radio Donahue together with this float.
It looks like a few leprechauns they've got on there, Tim.
Yes, that's beautiful. And even though there may be some of these units out of order, I think we have to congratulate the committee for arriving here precisely on time. They left Varsity Stadium, made their way down Yonge Street, and then turning right on Queen and coming toward us in a westerly direction, and they're precisely on time.
I see the Laois Offaly Canadian Association passing by. They're celebrating their 5th anniversary today. We've now got the Toronto Rose of Tralee, Mary O'Connor. Mary is a student at McMaster University and currently studying business. She was selected by a panel of judges, winning over numerous other contestants.
Well, and that's going to be quite a prize for her, too, because she's going to represent Toronto in the annual International Rose of Tralee Festival in County Kerry. She'll crown the 1988 Toronto Rose of Tralee on April 30th of this year at the Toronto Irish Centre over on DuPont Street. This looks like the Top Hat Marching Orchestra coming along behind them. And this is quite an outfit. Their classy costumes belie their true nature, it says here, because they don't exactly march, although they're doing quite well at the moment, except for the leader there. They'll give you quite a show as they march along, playing some great music, and they're led by Drum Major Neil Sinclair.
They've been entertaining in and around Southern Ontario since 1982. They've also been featured on the CBC TV program The Journal and on CMC's radio's Peter Growski show. They've got quite a bunch of characters there, Tim, don't they?
Yes, indeed. And, you know, it's not the warmest day, so the lads have had to keep themselves warm by walking briskly and beating the drums. But fortunately, it's dry with threatening rain and sleet. It's turned out just fine for the St. Patrick's Day Parade. Eric Ford from Burlington writes the music for the band and is their rehearsal conductor. And he's added some special Irish arrangements for this special occasion. This group from St. Catharines, the Irish Club of St. Catharines, going by, founded back in 1969 to promote Irish heritage. And they have quite an Irishman as the mayor of St. Catharines, Mayor Joe McCaffrey.
It's a beautiful float, isn't it, Tim?
The Garden City.
Touch of spring.
Niagara Grape and Wine Festival. Float coming by. And aboard, it says, the 1987 Grape Queen, Teresa Donatus, and the Grape King, Peter Buis, Jr.
Also got some Irish dancers on there.
And
now we've got the Emerald Soccer Club. It was founded in 1959 by a group of Irish guys who just want to get out and play soccer and have fun. Many years afterwards, they became one of the greatest amateur soccer teams in Canada. They've won every major trophy possible in their 29 years of existence. And many of the players have won international honours, including Carl Rose, Hugh Creaney, and Vince O'Reilly. Mr. O'Reilly is also one of today's parade organisers.
The Toronto Emerald Soccer Club.
It's an all-Irish jaunting car.
Well, there was quite a story involving getting this vehicle into the parade because they are not easy to come by. And in fact, I think most people would recognize it from the great film The Quiet Man. And as they wanted to have an authentic Irish jaunting car, they wound up having to have one built up in Elmira, Ontario by the Mennonites, who are in the carriage building business, the Rural Carriage Company. And it's certainly an authentic looking jaunting car. Now that looks like our St. Brendan's float coming here, Paul. There it is.
That's right.
St. Brendan's
Yep.
boat. Replica of St. Brendan's two-masted leather-hulled sailing craft in which he is alleged to have crossed from Ireland to Canada along with 3 other monks around 500 AD. And the float has been constructed by students at Winston Churchill Collegiate.
See an old Celtic cross on there as well as the part of the sail.
Well, they did a wonderful job making this replica. Of course, a book written about this voyage in recent years. The voyage duplicated to prove that it could well have occurred. And that's been a fascinating story in recent years.
They've got a couple of monks on there as well.
St. Brendan's boat. A special interest in that, Paul, being as my youngest son is named Brendan.
Oh, I see.
And followed by the Queen's York Rangers Band.
And these are from Toronto, local band. Let's just listen to some music for a while.
And the band of the Queen's York Rangers disappears from view, followed by the parade director, Jim Dwyer, has now joined the reviewing stand. Looks like the St. John's Drum and Bugle Corps. We'll have to wait for a a certain identification of this band because, as we indicated earlier, some of the units out of order, which is not uncommon, especially in a first effort in all these years.
Yes, here we have Molly Malone and her wheelbarrow. Of course, that comes from the famous song about Dublin. The first words go, "In Dublin's fair city where the girls are so pretty, I first set my eyes on sweet Molly Malone."
Woodgate School of Irish Dancing represented.
Led by Paula Woodgate and musician Michael Woodgate, one of the top Irish dancing schools here in Toronto. Paula Woodgate was a former pupil of the Butler Academy of Traditional Irish Dancing, instructed by May Butler, the woman responsible for bringing Irish dancing to Canada 35 years ago.
And a goodly crowd lining Queen Street here, as they have throughout the parade route from Varsity Stadium across Bloor down Yonge Street. And they'll continue over to Wellington, where the parade will finish. And you're looking from this camera view east on Queen Street. In fact, the crowd growing even as we have been bringing the coverage to you here on Rogers Cable 10 Toronto. And some fine-looking young colleens there.
Well, Tim, you're going to be back in New York City for the New York parade, aren't you?
Oh, yes. Yes, indeed. That's on St. Patrick's Day, the 17th. And another look at the Woodgate School of Irish Dancing. We saw some of them come by moments ago. And these young ladies all dressed up in their dancing costumes and looking very pretty indeed.
They're actually doing some Irish dancing on their way. They wouldn't have tried that yesterday, Tim, in that freezing rain, would they?
Not on that ice rink that there was here
in
Toronto, on our streets and sidewalks. And those famous Irish sweaters coming in handy on this chilly day.
Okay, I see we've got some people here from Dublin, Ontario.
Well, yes, and including the mayor of Dublin, Ontario, I believe, is also with us.
Of course, Dublin, Ireland is celebrating its millennium this year.
And a beautiful carriage coming along with the Lord Mayor of Dublin, Gerald Murray. That's Dublin, Ontario.
Of course, we had the Lord Mayor of Dublin, Ireland in Toronto this week as well. Fortunately, she couldn't be here for the parade. She had to go to Washington, D.C.
And yet another beautiful antique carriage carrying Irish Miners of Canada. Now, I know a little bit about this group because my cousin Patrick Ryan, who will be coming along in the parade, is involved with organizing the Irish miners in the parade. And you're looking at the Ontario Place float in the well-known Kelly's Irish pub, involved in that float as well with the Ontario Place folks.
We've got the Richmond Hill Pipe Band coming through. They were formed in 1985. They consist of 9 pipers and 3 drummers, marching in black jackets, blue shirts, and the red McPherson tartan kilt. They've competed in the Highland Games in Canada and have won the Grade 4 North American Drum Corps Championship in 1985.
Celtics all.
Of course.
So the McPherson tartan kilt may not be of Irish heritage, but it's close enough. And these are the Etobicoke Spectrum Majorettes, ages 9 to 16.
Well, they're keeping themselves warm, Tim.
Oh, yes. 40 young men and ladies. Are they all ladies today? Yes, they are. Majorettes being all ladies.
So we've now got the Kitchener-Cambridge Irish Society coming through.
Good community of Irish in that area that I think has more of an identification of people with German heritage, but there's a good-sized Irish community in Kitchener-Waterloo.
Aren't we everywhere, Tim?
Yes, I think we are everywhere. Alderman Fred Beavis had come along just ahead of this group, and he apparently has joined the reviewing stand as well.
Okay, we've now got Our Lady of Fatima band here. There are 55 members, both male and female. It's actually a Portuguese band, and it's been led by Joe Lima today. The band was formed just about 5 years ago.
Well, I think that's terrific that they have many participants from other ethnic origins who wanted to be in on the spirit of goodwill and the importance of remembering that these are all Canadians first and Irish second. And so the Portuguese community has joined into the spirit here of the St. Patrick's Day Parade.
Got a beautiful float coming up now, the Parade Queen float. There we see here the Parade Queen, 19-year-old Maeve Kane. She comes from Mississauga, Ontario. Attends the University of Western Ontario, and she hopes to obtain an honours economics degree and either attend law school or get an MBA in business. I think both of them will make her very well qualified in today's society, John.
Oh, yes, indeed. And we don't want to forget just ahead of them, I think you saw them in your picture, but we didn't acknowledge the Irish Wolfhounds Society. We had seen one wolfhound go through earlier, but the Irish Wolfhound Society preceding the Queen float. And, of course, many of the dog lovers would want to make sure they got a fair mention.
I understand Maeve is an avid golfer and swimmer. Present reigning junior girls champion at Markland Golf and Country Club, and the ladies club chap for York District for 86-87.
And now we're going to trust to your Gaelic here, Paul, to describe this group led by Henry Garrity and Eamon O'Loughlin.
That's the Coaltas Kiltori Éireann, which is an Irish traditional music group. They promote Irish traditional music, and it's very nice to listen to. Let's hear some of it.
I could have identified it as Irish traditional music, but I never would have made it through the Gaelic.
I think we've just missed Mr. Norm Brown there of the United Irish Societies of Montreal, representing the Montreal Irish community here today in Toronto. That's people representing the Dublin Millennium. Of course, this is the year Dublin celebrates its 1000th birthday.
And now coming through from the Kitchener area, the Oktoberfest Committee, and that wonderful festival that they have every year, and Kitchener has become literally world famous, and they wanted to be part of this St. Patrick's Day Parade and brought down a delegation and this stunning float to be part of the St. Patrick's Day Parade here in Toronto, 1988.
They've also been extremely helpful to the organizers of the St. Patrick's Day Parade, giving them a lot of time and a lot of help.
I know Sean Moore told us that Glenn Walker of the Oktoberfest Committee was just instrumental in helping them with the organization and how to make this all happen. So they're very grateful indeed. Now you're looking at the Ulster Accordion Band, wearing their maroon jackets and light gray pants. 25 plus members, formed back in 1954 by transplanted Ulstermen. And to our knowledge, the first marching accordion band on the American continent. They've played in northern New York, Ontario, Quebec's Winter Carnival. Last year they traveled to Vancouver.
They're quite popular in Ireland, actually, the accordion marching bands. Playing a nice Irish lilt there.
And now the Irish Heritage Club of Sudbury, following that red sports car, born back in 1950. ensuring continuance of an Irish heritage up in Sudbury, Ontario.
Okay,
the Canadian National Exhibition represented here.
Some beautiful color on there, Tim. Canadian National Exhibition. There it is. The one and only C&E.
You know, there's an expression that I think is just kind of carried on over the years. Kids' Day at the X. And that was a day when the kids would get in free. I don't know if they still do that at the CNE, Paul, but many families in Canada, it got to be an expression. When anything got confused in your household, you would say, it's like Kids' Day at the X.
Here we've got the Royal Hamilton Light Infantry Band. This drum and bugle corps consists of 30 members. They wear scarlet red tunics and white spiked helmets.
Well, those are impressive. Those are beautiful uniforms.
Very smart.
Royal Hamilton Light Infantry Band. Shades of the Bengal Lancers. Empire days in India. Well, here's the Rover Club from Brampton, Ontario. When I lived in Toronto, Paul, Brampton was practically a road trip. And now just part of this wonderful metropolitan area, their own identification important as a town. But Brampton, I can remember, used to be, you would literally maybe spend the afternoon to go up to Brampton, and what growth this city has had. And it's certainly become a tremendous metropolitan area.
Well, those Rovers look warmly dressed there. Their
yes,
orange sweaters and their Irish caps.
There's a great old antique automobile. Should be able to identify that, but it's not from my era. I don't think you're old enough to be able to give me a call on that one either.
No, I can't. I can't figure that one out.
Let's
You got me
hope
there.
it's a
You got me there, Tim.
Bearcat or an old Packard. Hopefully we'll be able to identify it when it gets a little closer. Well, it's from Pizza Pizza. We know that. Beautiful old car. Pepperoni the Clown, and he's probably working the street at the moment here. The Ontario Legion massed pipes and drums. Now this band dressed in Highland dress of different tartans, approximately 90 members. We'll be hearing them momentarily. Comes the Ontario Legion Band, closer to our cameras and microphones. Tim Ryan with Paul Loftus, hoping you're enjoying this coverage of the St. Patrick's Day Parade on Rogers Cable 10 Toronto, the first of its kind since 1878. So you're really seeing a bit of history today, and what they hope will be now an annual affair in Toronto, Canada.
Of course, it's quite a national celebration, Tim, right across the country. Next Saturday, Ottawa has their parade, and on the Sunday, it's Montreal.
And the McDonald's double-decker bus coming by. We mentioned that this has become already somewhat of a mini festival, and there will be events going on at the Irish Canadian Centre on Dupont Street. St. Patrick's Day, a 90-minute Irish concert at Nathan Phillips Square, right here to our left, beginning at noon. And other events at the Irish Canadian Centre this coming week. So certainly you've got lots more chance to participate.
Okay, now we've got the O'Donnell School of Dancing. Quite a few dances on there, haven't they? It revolves around the song of Noreen Bawn. It describes a young Colleen leaving her homeland to travel to America. It tells a sad tale of immigration when a dying Noreen returns to her mother in Ireland to bid her a last farewell. I remember hearing that song a lot when I was a kid in Ireland. If I remember correctly, she was from Donegal.
Theme song music of Noreen Bawn. And followed immediately by the Air Paris Band. Concert marching band with 35 members from the village of Ayr. Well, we've got an Irish elephant of some kind coming through here. I heard about the snakes that were chased out. Maybe the elephant was as well.
Not what you call a traditional Irish animal, is it?
Molly Malone's Tavern bringing us the Irish elephant here.
Well, you know, St. Patrick got rid of the snakes from Ireland. You know that, Tim?
Yes, well, evidently the elephants too, because I haven't seen any there lately. St. Patrick's Parade Society picnic in July is already being planned, and that float from Molly Malone's just kind of reminding folks about that. This is the Derry Flute Band. 40 members playing the silver flutes. It was founded back in 1908. Long tradition in history. In fact, they toured Ireland in 1951. The Derry Flute Band. That may be the County Meath Association marching behind, and formed on January 30th of this year, inviting members of Meath, birth, or heritage. So you might want to know about that if you qualify in those categories. The president is Michael Duke, vice president is Mike Quigley, and they're marching with the founding members today.
So it's becoming quite popular now in Toronto, county associations. Of course, that's been going on in New York City for a long time, Tim. They've got county associations for most Irish counties in New York. And now Toronto is joining up and getting more county associations formed here.
I think we acknowledged earlier the mayor of Dublin, Ontario, whose float was out of order from what we were given, but we again just acknowledged that Gerald Murray, Lord Mayor of Dublin, that's Dublin, Ontario. Now we're looking at the York Lions Steel Band, the city of York. Those are 45-gallon oil drums, probably familiar with these from Caribbean bands. This band put together in 1972, 3 record albums to their credit. And you've probably seen them in other parades here in Toronto. Santa Claus Parade, Toronto Beach's Lions Club Easter Parade, down at St. Catharines at the Wine and Grape Festival.
That's Rock Around the Clock they're playing. That comes from my era, rock and roll. Never did any rock and roll to a steel band, though. This is the Irish Canadian Centre float we see coming up here now. It's located at 1650 DuPont Street. Celebrated its 20th anniversary in 1987. It's the home base for numerous Irish groups here in Toronto, including the Toronto Irish Players, which is a theatre group, the Toronto GAA, and the Irish Canadian Youth Group. It has graciously provided their premises for the fundraising activities of the St. Patrick's Day Parade Society.
From Many colorful costumes on there, and including a hockey goaltender.
Yeah, we got the Labatt's keg truck coming up there now. I wonder if those kegs full, Tim?
It would be lapped up pretty quickly, I think, even though the temperatures are a little cool. That's a great old keg truck, isn't that wonderful?
Fantastic.
Yeah. John Labatt Brewing Company. And the truck that carries it following behind.
Slightly more modern version.
Yes, right. I guess the 1919 antique keg truck fits right in the back of this modern behemoth. Well, this crowd on Queen Street seems to be growing as the parade has been coming by here. Many people dressed in green or with at least touches of green. It's great to see this, Paul. St. Patrick's Day parade in Toronto, and all the years I lived here back in the early 50s and through into the 70s, there was always talk about how nice it would be to have a St. Patrick's Day parade. And, well, it took until 1988, but here it is.
Yeah, and I think all Irish people in Toronto should be proud. That's the Roots and Squeeze Club float just passing by.
We certainly had plenty of music of all different kinds and sounds. Q107 limousine. White.
It's a white Rolls Royce, isn't it?
Well, that's what it says on the script. That doesn't look like a Rolls Royce to me. That's a stretch limo. Looks like a Lincoln. Mackey's van lines. Next up. This is quite an elaborate float, Paul. I think your view here, you can identify some of those flags.
Sure.
Press horse.
Yeah, they've got a lovely little Irish cottage there. They've got an old Irish flag with the hearts and harp and shamrocks with Erin Gobrow on there, Ireland Forever. They've got the signs from Ireland on there, Cork, Derry, so on. They've also got the provincial flags of Ireland on that float. Very nice float.
And now the Royal Military College Band from Kingston, Ontario, founded in 1953. 100 musicians, pipes and drums, reeds and brass, Highland dancers, all volunteers from the college. In their traditional scarlet uniform, Mackenzie tartan, kilts and plaids. And that tartan chosen in honor of the Honorable Alexander Mackenzie, Prime Minister of Canada when the college was founded. Very colorful band, and I love the touch with the green balloons.
Very non-traditional.
Isn't that great?
Okay, well, that's the Mayo Association just passing by, recently formed. We almost missed the car there with my brother in there, Jimmy Loftus.
I want to talk about that. Your brother Jimmy Loftus, that a well-known character, shall we say, here in Canada. There he is. Now tell us about your brother Jimmy. I've seen him on Don Cherry's show.
Yeah, that's on Channel 11, actually. It's seen in 26 cities right across Canada. This is going into its 7th season this year in August.
Don Cherry's Grapevine.
Yeah, seen after the Leafs games.
Jimmy Loftus. Now, can you sing better than your brother?
No.
Did we mention the Mayo Association?
Yeah, we got the Mayo Association. That's, of course, where we're from. Ballina is our hometown, County Mayo.
The officers of that association are amongst today's marchers. John Morley, the chairman, McGreal, Ellen Dwyer, she's also vice chairman of the Parade Society Social Committee, and Josie Scott, the secretary of the Mayo Committee. Now, this should be the O'Kelly School and Johnson School of Irish Dancing on the schedule here. And this band we're looking right now, I believe, is the Kiwanis Cavaliers Drum Corps. We'll double check this one for you. These units coming fast and furious here along Queen Street.
Okay, now we see Jerry Crow down there. That's the Metro Caravan Shannon Pavilion. That's the 1987 Shannon Pavilion. The mayor is Jerry Crow and Princess Siobhan Burke, representing the Irish Pavilion, of course, of Metro Caravan. It's a nice fur coat Jerry is wearing there, isn't he?
Well, he can use it today.
Yeah.
Although, again, we're lucky with the weather. We don't have any sunshine, but we don't have the rain and sleet that has been occurring in Toronto earlier this week.
You know, we spoke about St. Patrick there earlier on, Tim, and I was telling you about that toast we used to have in Ireland when I was living there. That said St. Patrick was a gentleman who, through strategy and stealth, drove all the snakes from Ireland. Here's a toasting to his health. But not too many toastings now, lest we lose ourselves and then forget the good St. Patrick and see all them snakes again.
Well done, Paul. Paul Loftus. Well, we'll wave back at those folks. We're not sure who they are, but they're part of the parade.
No, it certainly look like they're enjoying themselves. That's the main thing, isn't it?
That's the idea. Well, here's some Gaelic to test you here, Paul, shortly coming up. American Gaelic Society.
Yeah, let's see if we can get a closer view on this.
You'll have to translate the rest of it for me. An Association of Gaelic Societies.
Looks like Corlin are coming, Kjolvik.
Some Irish dancers approaching. Now, we don't have an identification for this group as yet, Paul, on our list of entries, but they are wonderful and the real thing, so we're going to do our best to get a proper credit for them.
Can't identify that car, Tim, can you?
No, afraid not. But it's a nice car. Well, now this boat is a little easier to identify. Belfast-born Torontonian Declan McCall, the only person to sail single-handed around the world on the Contessa. Returned home almost 7 years and 50,000 miles later.
Got the Variety Village Band coming up now. This band consists of 40 to 50 members. Marching concert band wearing Royal Marine uniforms.
Variety Village, which does so many wonderful charity things in Canada, throughout Canada, and a very important city here in Toronto in terms of their efforts here. They're just a very important group. Wonderful work.
Now we've got the Good Value Snacks truck coming up. I understand they're distributing free munchies to spectators.
I'll open the window there, Paul.
I was going to say they haven't got as far as this yet.
This should be bringing up the end of the parade, unless there have been some added units. That should pretty much conclude this first St. Patrick's Day parade since 1878. And quite a success it was indeed, I think, in starting on time and in having the number of units. You know, it will only grow in the years ahead. And what fun it has been to be a part of it here. For this historic occasion, 1988 St. Patrick's Day Parade in Toronto, Canada. And it's been our pleasure to bring it to you over Rogers Cable 10 in Toronto.
And I think the committee should be congratulated on doing an excellent job. It was just absolutely fantastic for our first attempt in such a long time, Tim.
And we'll be right back with more of the St. Patrick's Day Parade after this.
On my left-hand side, Dennis McDermott, Ambassador of Canada to Ireland. Dennis, welcome back to Canada.
Thank you.
Good to have you with us here today. What's your opinion on the parade, Dennis?
Well, I thought it was monumentally successful. As an Irish Canadian, I couldn't wish for anything better. It was one of the prouder moments of my life to participate in the parade and stand up there on the platform and witness that great parade of Irish talent and warmth and friendliness.
Well, it's been great having you with us. Could you just tell us in a few words how things are going in Ireland for you?
Things are going very well in Ireland for us. We're enjoying it immensely. We get around quite a bit, and hopefully we're giving Canada a lot more visibility in Ireland.
Well, we're getting some excellent reports on you. Thank you very much for being a part of it today, Dennis.
Thank you.
And now we'll turn over to Bill McCormack. Bill, can you let us know your position with the police department here in
I'm
Toronto?
the Deputy Chief, Field Operations, or Metropolitan Toronto Police.
And I understand you've got some Irish background.
Oh, indeed. Yes, indeed. Both my parents were born and brought up in Ireland, and I finished my schooling in Ireland.
Well, I understand it was quite a job to get the parade organised from a police perspective. Could you tell us something about that?
Indeed it was, but we had a tremendous amount of police officers that were very, very much keen on the whole thing because of their Irish background, so there really wasn't too much problem in relation to that. We had the excellent cooperation of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police as well, and all of the other forces involved. It's just been a tremendous success.
Thank you very much for being part of it, and also I'd
pleasure.
like to thank you for making it possible to have this parade today. We really appreciate it.
Well,
thank
on behalf of all of us here, I can assure you we've enjoyed it.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Well, I'm with the chairman of the Society Committee, Steve Whelan, and the Public Relations Director, Sean Moore. And gentlemen, you have to be glowing here at the moment. Even though the sun isn't shining, what a wonderful day it was.
I think Paddy kept us looked after us today, that's for sure.
Kept you dry for sure, and everybody on all of the floats. And was it more than you expected?
It's better than I expected. And we're not far from finishing it off with another one next year. It'll be even better.
How many units did you wind up with altogether?
86, I believe.
Now, Sean, I know that you weren't too worried about the weather this morning because you just were certain, you had the good faith that it would hold off, and it certainly did.
You shovel even better than I do. No, well, when we saw the ice storm last night, we said, boy, if this had come 12 hours later, we would have had big problems because nothing would have moved.
Well, it looked like there were literally thousands of Irishmen and those that aren't Irish, those that wish they were, as they say, lining the streets here in Toronto. So obviously the support was here for this parade.
You think the support was here today? Wait till next year. They'll be beating the doors down to get in.
What was the highlight as you saw it, Steve?
I think to see the flags coming through and the floats, and especially the little children. They seem to be enjoying themselves, and that was the most important thing. And after all, it is for the kids.
One of the things that struck me, Sean, was the fact that you had other ethnic groups represented, well represented in the parade, showing that they were all in on the fun of having a St. Patrick's Day parade. And I think you have to mention also that we saw some Ulstermen there, and that certainly contributes to good feeling.
Well, we wanted a parade for the citizens of Toronto, irrespective of ethnic group. And I think that's what we got today. And this is what this is. It's a cosmopolitan city, a great super city.
Well, congratulations to both of you for a fantastic job. Sean?
Before you leave, I would be very remiss if I didn't congratulate all the wives of the executive committee, and particularly my own. If she hadn't gotten involved, I don't know what would have happened. And to my daughter Fiona, who did all the artworks, thanks, love. Excellent.
All right, great job to all of you, and look forward again to next year's St. Patrick's Day Parade here in Toronto. Well, Paul Loftus and I have been joined by the parade director, Jim Dwyer, as we are about to say farewell for this first St. Patrick's Day Parade since 1878. You were very involved, obviously, in all of the logistics of this, Jim. How do you feel right now?
Relieved, I guess, Tim, is probably the best way to put it. As late as 11:45 this morning, 15 minutes before kickoff, we were still going through turmoil. Literally, we had people running up and down the street, going the wrong way, trucks, buses, floats, bands, everything. But as it always happens, it all comes together, and by the time you hit the parade route, you start moving, you can't go wrong. And the people are out there, they just made us feel so absolutely exuberant. It was spectacular. I didn't think that we would be able to achieve what we did in this first time out, but the people, I think they buoyed us on. We knew that we would be supported, but I didn't think they would come along that well, that fast with us. It felt great.
It was a fantastic display of getting things off on time for a first effort. Paul and I were amazed the parade actually arrived at this location on time. A few things out of order, but remarkably smooth. Paul, wasn't that your impression?
Yes, that was my impression. Very, very well organized. I know you put in a lot of work, and I know you've been working on it for quite a while, and you should really be congratulated for what you've done. As I said earlier on, not just for Toronto, but for the Irish community right across Canada. It's a very, very proud day indeed.
Well, for Paul Loftus, parade chairman and director, Jim Dwyer, I'm Tim Ryan, saying so long for this year. Looking forward to seeing you next year, but not before Paul Loftus gives you a special Gaelic farewell.
Thank you, Tim.
All right, thank you all for looking in.
The preceding program was made possible through funding provided by Rogers Cable TV Toronto and the St. Patrick's Parade Society of Toronto.